This is Yair Davidiy speaking to you from Jerusalem on behalf of Brit-Am movement of the 10 tribes of Israel. Our organization knows and proves and works to affirm and confirm the recognition of the fact that the 10 tribes of Israel as recognizable entities, as coherent units, as prophesied in scripture, are today to be found amongst Western peoples, and that is where the 10 tribes are. The 10 tribes today, as the Bible identified them, are now amongst Western peoples. They do not know who they are. On the whole, they are not conscious of their ancestry, but in the future they will. They will know who they are, and they will return and reunite with Judah, meaning the present-day Jewish people. And this is written in the Bible in many places, especially in Ezekiel 37, where it speaks about the eventual reunification of Joseph, the stick of Joseph, and the stick of Judah, who will become one. And there are many proofs in the Bible concerning those 10 tribes of Israel and how we may identify them today. There are numerous points of evidence. We have on our website more than 120 different proofs, and from the Bible alone. And there are many more, both from biblical sources and from rabbinical sources and from secular sources, from archaeology, linguistics, mythology, and from numerous other fields of study, all showing that the 10 tribes today are amongst Western peoples, and we have evidence for it. So one of our proofs is that the 10 tribes of Israel in the future were prophesied to be at the ends of the earth. It was prophesied that 10 tribes of Israel in the end times would be at the geographical extremities of the world. And that is where we find them. That is where groups that we identify as containing within them the basic core of the 10 tribes of Israel, as it was prophesied they would be in the end times, are now all to be found amongst areas which should be considered at the ends of the earth. When you take the land of Israel as being at the center of the earth, we find people from the 10 tribes of Israel in New Zealand, in the southeast of the world, in Australia, in South Africa. As we said, Israel, the land of Israel, is the center of the earth. And from there we have in western France, we have in Holland and Belgium, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland. All of these areas are the extremities of Europe. Whereas across the seas we have Canada and the USA. All of these areas are the extremities of the world. They are the geographical extremities of the earth, or the world. They are at the ends of the earth, when the land of Israel is considered as recognized as being the center of the earth. This is one proof out of very many, and this proof should be taken into consideration together with all of the other points of evidence as complementary to them, as to be seen in the light of them, but also as confirming them, as strengthening the other proofs, as this proof in itself is strengthened by them. Israel is at the center of the earth. The land of Israel is at the center of the earth according to the Hebrew Bible. See Ezekiel 38, chapter 38, verse 12. Ezekiel in chapter 38, verse 12 describes the attack of Gog and Magog in the end times against the Israelite tribes. The Israelite tribes at that time will have returned to the land of Israel. They will have reunited. And Gog and Magog, the forces of the heathen nations of the world, will unite to attack Israel. All of the heathens, all of the Gentile non-Israelite nations hate the Israelite nations. They hate the Israelites. We see today the Islamic nations and the third world countries and all the other peoples of the earth, they hate the USA, they hate Britain, and they despise Scandinavia and related nations. And they also hate the Jews. They're all against the Jewish people. And this is what Ezekiel, this is how the Bible described it would be, and this is how it is. And Ezekiel, and also when they return, when the tribes return and reunite and recognize who they are and acknowledge their ancestry and reunite with Judah and settle in the land of Israel, even then, all of the peoples of the earth, the non-Israelite peoples, will still maintain their hatred of the Israelite nations and want to destroy them. And Ezekiel 38 describes this. He says, "Thus says the Lord God, on that day shall come to pass that thoughts will arise in your mind, and you will make an evil plan." He's speaking about Gog and Magog, the leader of all the heathen nations. You will say, I will go up against the land of unwalled villages. I will go to a peaceful people who dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls, and have neither bars nor gates, to take plunder, to take beauty, to stretch out your hand against the waste places that are again inhabited. They will have rehabilitated the land, they will rebuild the land. As the Jews have begun to do in the land of Israel, in the state of Israel today, the Jews have begun to rehabilitate the land, and they have begun to turn a wasteland and a desert into a very flourishing, verdant area. And much more could be done, and God willing will be done, both by the Jews and by the Israelite tribes when they return and take over all of the land of Israel, as the Bible described it. As land of Israel in biblical terms extends from the Nile River to the Euphrates, and all of that land, including the island of Cyprus and areas of southeast Turkey, will also belong to the tribes of Israel in future times, as Ezekiel describes. He continues, so we continue from Ezekiel chapter 38. We're now on verse 12, to take plunder and to take beauty, to stretch out your hand against the waste places that are again inhabited, and against the people gathered from other nations, who acquired livestock and goods, who dwell in the midst of the land. That's what he said, dwell in the midst of the land. In Hebrew, this expression, dwell in the midst of the land, or in the midst of the land, is tabu haaretz, literally at the center, at the belly button of the land, of the earth. The land of Israel is at the center of the world, according to the Bible. The last 10 tribes were described in the Bible as being Katsei Haaretz, Besof, the world, at the ends of the earth. That means the geographical extremities, when we recognize that the land of Israel is considered to be at the center of the earth. And the tribes of Israel will be living at these ends. They will be living at the geographical extremities of the earth. This includes the nations of Ireland, of Britain, France, Switzerland, Belgium, Holland, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Iceland. Then too, Australia, New Zealand, Canada and the USA. We're not saying that everyone in these nations belongs to the tribes of Israel or will be recognized as an Israelite. We are saying that in these areas, the 10 tribes of Israel will return from, and that is where the descendants of the tribes of Israel are to be found today. That is where they are. That is where they have coalesced. That is where they have congregated, as the Bible explains, as was prophesied. And this is what has happened. They lost consciousness of their identity. They were taken into exile by the Assyrians. They were scattered. They moved around, but then they regrouped, managed to reassert their independence in different groups, in different stages. And then they migrated in different ways, through different areas, but all in the same direction, ultimately in the same direction, all eventually reaching to the British Isles and reaching to areas of Western and Northern Europe. From there, their descendants also colonized Australia, New Zealand, and North America, and South Africa. And this is where they are. This is where history and also rabbinical sources and other sources prove they have gone to, and where they are to be found, and this is from where they will return. The Bible describes them as coming from the ends of the earth in the end times. If you look at Isaiah 41, he says, But thou, Israel, are my servant, Jacob, whom I have chosen, the descendants of Abraham, my friend. You whom I have taken from the ends of the earth, see Isaiah 41 verse 8, you whom I have taken from the ends of the earth and called from its farthest regions, said to you, you are my servant, I have chosen you, I have not cast you away. That is Isaiah 41. We also find in Isaiah 43, Fear not, for I am with you, I will bring your descendants from the east and gather you from the west. I will say to the north, give them up. To the south, do not keep them back. Bring my sons from afar and my daughters from the ends of the earth. The ends of the earth. Joseph, it was described as being at the ends of the earth in the end time. See Deuteronomy 33. And Joseph, he said, Behold, blessed of the Lord be his land, for the precious things of heaven, for the dew and for the deep that crouches beneath, and the precious fruits, and so on. His glory is like the firstling of his bull, and his horns are like the horns of a unicorn. Remember that a lion and a unicorn are the symbols of Britain. With them he shall push the people together till the ends of the earth. And they are the 10,000s of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh. There we too find Joseph in his Deuteronomy 33 from his agricultural bounty, mineral resources, favourable climate, military power. and being associated with the ends of the earth. And we also find in Isaiah 49:6, indeed it said, it's a small thing that you should be my servant to raise up the tribes of Jacob, to restore the preserved ones of Israel. I will give you as a light to the Gentiles, that you should be my servant to the ends of the earth. To the ends of the earth. Chatzot ha'aretz ba in Hebrew, meaning the ends of the earth, the ends of the geographical extremities of the world, where we do find the lost in tribes today. And most of these extremities belong to the tribes of Israel. And this chapter and verse, Isaiah 49, referring to the 10 tribes of Israel, is not only according to how we understand it from the simple meaning of Hebrew passages, and even in English translation it also says the same, it means the same, but also rabbinical commentators, the sages in the Talmud and the Midrashim also said the same thing. See references to this in articles that we have on our website, in our books. Look it up, Jerusalem, Sanhedrin chapter 17, Numbers Rabbah, Eicha Rabbah 2:9, and so on. And not only that, we have the idea that the 10 tribes of Israel will not only be in the ends of the earth, that they will be in the places of the earth. As it says in Isaiah 41:8-9, you, Israel, my servant Jacob, who have chosen the seed of Abraham, my friend, whom I have taken from the ends of the earth, again from the ends of the earth, called you from the most noble parts thereof. Atzilaya in Hebrew, the best places, the best chief. There's different ways of translating it. The present translations are accurate. They usually translate as being the most noble parts thereof. That is in accordance with the Hebrew, the best places. So in other words, we are saying that not only should they be at the ends of the earth, but they should be in the most salubrious climates of the earth. And these areas, Australia, New Zealand, Northern Europe, Western Europe, the British Isles, are healthy regions. You have other places at the ends of the earth. Eastern Siberia could also be considered the ends of the earth, but it's not conducive so much to pleasant human inhabitation, so that is not one of the areas that belongs to the tribes of Israel. Because Isaiah, as if to say, Isaiah in chapter 41 added a qualifying condition to the idea that the ends of the earth should belong to the tribes of Israel. Not only should they be at the ends of the earth, to the geographical extremities, they should be at the best places of the earth. In other words, they should be at those portions of the ends of the earth where life, the climate and the conditions are most conducive to human inhabitation and the most pleasant for them. And this is what we find. This is the reality. This was described by the Hebrew prophets. Another point, incidental point of interest, is that as we saw, the tribes of Israel would be at the ends of the earth. They would have been the best places of the earth. They would be associated with the ends of the earth, the geographical extremities, and as we find them. And this is also reflected in Irish tradition. We have the books of the Annals of the Four Masters. Annals of the Four Masters were written in about 1630, 1630. They were written down in Donegal in northwest Ireland. They were related based on ancient traditions. In Ireland they had a great deal of ancient traditions that were passed down through oral transmission from father to son, or from one master storyteller to another, from generation to generation. In great detail, they gave whole genealogies, list of genealogies, this person is descended from that person, and so on and so on. And also they gave a lot of historical detail. There was once a road here, there was a castle there, there was this and that. And archaeologists are now discovering that in very many cases these traditions are accurate. Where they said there was a road, where they said there was a castle, that is where they find them. When they describe such and such a situation, very often the archaeological and historical evidence confirms this description. Even DNA is confirming many of these genealogical tables and lists that they grew up. So it is not to be dismissed. So these Irish traditions have been passed down to us, been related, written down. One of the major sources that they gave to us is in Annals of the Four Masters, as we said, in Donegal, written in Donegal. And it says a lot. It says a lot of things in these sources confirm the fact that the lost tribes or they confirm traditions concerning lost tribes of Israel. And these traditions are important not only because of Ireland itself. How many people are there now in Ireland? Not very many. There are a lot of people, 3 million, 5 million, 6 million, I don't know. They also have but beyond that, beyond the numbers of people in Ireland, we have people of Irish descent. We have 6 million in Australia, about 20 million in the USA. We have tens of millions in the UK, all descended from Ireland. Not only that, but in ancient times, a good portion of the present population of Scotland, the Scotty, came from Ireland. So did a lot of the tribes that settled on the west coast of England and in Wales. So did a good portion of the present-day English also originate from Ireland. Also, the so-called Scotch-Irish, to more than they would like to admit, to a great degree, also of Irish descent. So the Irish got around, and the Irish contributed to the stock of Western Europe, and especially of that portion of the so-called Anglo-Saxon nations and the British nations and the North American nations. And the traditions that they transcribed, or that they gave to us, also pertain to us, pertain to the rest of the tribes of Israel. So what they say concerning the tribes of Israel also reflects upon the other nations, other Israelite nations. And they, amongst numerous other things that confirm the Israelite presence in these areas, they said that the island originally had 4 names, was given 4 names, 4 different names. Or actually a few more, but 4 major names. And one of the names they said that the island was given was Kriya Fiundes. They're probably laughing at my pronunciation, but it doesn't really matter. What is important is the meaning of these words to mean the final or remote country, or the limit of the world, the ends of the earth. In other words, Ireland in the Irish tradition was known as the limit of the world, the end of the earth. And that is one of the places to which the lost 10 tribes were to be found in the end times according to the Bible. Another name was Innis Ialga, meaning a noble or excellent nation, and it was also known as the sacred Insula Sacra, or sacred isle. This Innis Ialga, noble or excellent island, reminds us in Isaiah 41, when the lost tribes will be found not only at the ends of the earth, but also in the most noble parts of the earth. So here we have these 2 elements, both ends of the earth, the noble being encompassed by these 2 different names given to Ireland. And the third name, meaning Isle of the Blessed, that was given to Ireland, we find in Jewish tradition and Jewish rabbinical sources and non-rabbinical sources, from the Second Temple times and earlier, that the 10 tribes of Israel were to be found, at least in part, in the Isles of the Blessed. The Isles of the Blessed was an expression in classical tradition, usually applied to Ireland, sometimes to both Britain and Ireland. So here we find this confirmed in Irish tradition. The Romans also had a type of variation of this legend. They said that the descendants of Saturn, whom they identified with Israel, had fled from the east, had fled from the eastern Mediterranean area, in other words from the general area of Israel, and gone to the west, and were now to be found in one of the isles of Britain. In other words, they, in their own way, in their own heathen, pagan way, they were saying the same thing, that the portion of the tribes of Israel had left the area of Israel and they had gone to the west and would be found in the British Isles. So we see that from all of these sources, taking all of these indications, the 10 tribes were to be found at the ends of the earth. The ends of the earth definitely are, both according to geographical reality, what we can see on the maps. The ends of the earth are the British Isles, they are Northern Europe and Western Europe and North America and Australia and New Zealand, and also in the case of the British Isles and Ireland, we find that in both biblical, in rabbinical and Roman classical sources, they were recognized as being the ends of the earth. That was a name that was applied to them, and they're also called the nobles, the noble areas of the earth, and to be both at the ends of the earth and noble parts of the earth, as Isaiah 41 said, was where the 10 tribes were to be. Also, Isaiah 49 emphasizes that the tribes of Israel will be at the ends of the earth, and all of the major part of the chapter 49 of Isaiah refers to the 10 tribes of Israel, as the sages said in the Talmud and in Midrashim, and as confirmed by the simple meaning of the Bible when taken in its literal sense. Thank you very much. This is Yair Davidiy from Jerusalem, speaking to you on behalf of Brit-Am movement of the 10 tribes of Israel. Thank you.